Okay, so I'd like to call to order the Detention Facilities Oversight Board meeting for February 6th, 2023. I'd like to do a roll call of board members. I, Janice Mensa, am here. Vice Chair Reverend Darryl Gray is not here. Secretary Pam Walker is not here. Hillary Stuckey.
Present.
Mike Milton.
Present.
James Dom.
Present.
Tom Lawson.
Present.
Ornitha Lewis Walls.
She's muted, I believe. I don't know. I see her name.
Okay.
Present.
Present. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Barb Baker.
Present.
Thank you. All right. So we have okay. Looks
like we got
Reverend Darryl. Yeah, Reverend Darryl Gray. We're doing a roll call right now, so you're right on time.
Present.
Thank you. And if the only one we're missing is Secretary Pam Walker, if she comes in, I'll just, recognize her then. So the agenda is as follows. First is the welcome and call to order. Next is the approval of minutes from the 1:30 meeting. Next is the motion to close the meeting pursuant to 610.021 subsection 1 for discussion of privileged or confidential communications. Next is the return to open session. Next is new business and then adjournment. Are there any late additions or corrections to the agenda? I do have one point of new business that I'll bring up then, which is that there is someone who is willing to be a guest at our next meeting. She is a I don't know, a family member but she knows someone in CJC, and she would like to give us an update on what that person's experiences are. She's also already spoken to the media, so we can take a vote then on if we'd like her to come, and I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so if there's no other additions, we can go to the approval of minutes from 1/30/2023 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
I don't know that we submitted, had a draft of minutes gone around yet?
It's been less than a week. I don't think that there was time to fully vet them. I suggest continuing that to the 13th or the next available moment.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Do we make a motion? Do we need a motion, Chair, that we would move the approval of the minutes? Or let me just do this. I like to make a motion that we table the approval of minutes from January 30th, 2023 to our next meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, are we ready to vote, or is there a need for discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion passes, so we'll revisit that at the next meeting. Let's see. Next is the motion to close the meeting pursuant to 610.021 section 1 for discussion of privileged or confidential communications. I think I remember, Barbara Burkett, that we need to take a vote to close the meeting.
Yeah, that would be a roll vote. And if every voter can turn on their video when they're voting, please do.
Okay, so I will take a roll call and ask for your vote. If you can turn on your sound and video.
We need
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Reverend Gray is going to make the motion. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
I move that we proceed to a closed meeting pursuant to 610.021 section 1 for discussion of privileged or confidential communications.
There's a motion to close.
Yep.
Mike, did you
I
want to say
second the
something?
motion.
Mike, were you raising your hand to say something? Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, there is a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all right. We'll go ahead and start the roll call vote. Start with Vice Chair Reverend Gray.
Aye.
Pam's still not here, so we'll go to Hillary Stuckey.
Aye.
Mike Milton.
Aye.
James Dom.
Aye.
Tom Lawson.
Aye.
Ornitha Lewis Walls. Could you turn on your video if possible?
Where do I do that?
Are you on mobile?
Yeah.
Do you see something on the bottom of your phone screen that says start video?
No.
Try clicking your screen. It might be hidden and then you'll be able to see it once you touch the screen.
Start video. Okay.
Okay, perfect. We can see you.
Okay. Aye.
Okay, thank you. And you can turn your video back off if you'd like. And the final member is Barb Baker. Barb, you're on mute. Oh, video just turned off.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem. The motion passes, so we're going to close the meeting. This time, are we going to go into a breakout room and just leave the public in here?
Right.
I think everyone's back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, yes, everyone is back. So the next item on the agenda is new business. Does anyone have any other new business? Or I'll just...
I have just a quick question. Matt, the request that I made to you, that's not something that has to necessarily come under new business, is it? I just want to make sure that we're doing things proper and in order. So let me just ask a more broader question. If a board member reaches out to you as the commissioner to ask for information, for example, something that may or may not have happened in the Justice Center, once we submit that request to you or bring that information to you, it does not necessarily have to come to the board, does it?
The response or reply? Or information so let's say hypothetically we open an investigation, we go and investigate the allegation, we would bring the results back to the board.
Okay.
At some point, yeah.
But the request doesn't have to be made in the meeting. The request can be made just in communicating to you.
I believe so, yeah. That way we would treat it as any complaint that would come in. We don't, any complaint that we get, we don't bring to the board first. Right. To open an investigation. We just go ahead and start looking in. And then once it's completed, something for a future meeting, I sent out, because we'll have to go into closed session and we'll have to notice that kind of the status of various information requests that everyone should have received or a copy of that at some point today. But that we'll have to discuss it in a closed session at a future meeting because it has identifiable information on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Vice Chair. This just popped into my mind. Matt, did we complete our orientation?
No, we're still in process. There's still different aspects of the orientation that we need to complete. And I'd have to look at a list. It's a little bit, some of the legal rights, the different legal rights that are involved we need some instruction on that, but we have not arranged that yet.
Okay. What do we need to do to finish arranging that?
We just gotta identify the people that provide it and set up a time to do it.
Okay. I guess you and I can discuss that over email then.
That sounds good.
Okay. And then does anyone else have any new business or? Okay, so do you all know who Brandy Chance is? She's she has a family member who won't be identified, who has been in the CJC for, let's see, it's probably about a little over a year now. There was an article that came out June of last year where she spoke to the media about concerns she had about the facility based on her conversations with her family member.
Can I ask a question, just a point of order?
Sure.
Chair, I know the case you're referring to, and the fact that you mentioned the mother's name, I think a lot of people will go back and see. I guess my concern or maybe it's just a question. If we allow this person to come before us with allegations based upon what her son has said, would it not be a more proper process or procedure to have this person speak to Matt, have Matt assign it to an investigator, and then the information come back to us rather than us giving this person or anyone else a forum without an investigation?
So she wouldn't be speaking about allegations, I guess. This was more so while we're not able to speak to actual inmates in the actual people detained in the facility, be it because that's not what our tours have entailed or because the dorm rep meetings are not happening for whatever reason. My thinking was that we could hear at least secondhand accounts of conditions in the facility. So she wouldn't be making allegations, and I guess it wouldn't really be evidence for an investigation. She would just be sharing her experiences.
Just and my last comment. That would be problematic for me, Chair, only because I agree with you. We need to have access to the facility. You've said it. You've said it strongly. You've said it clearly on behalf of the board, and I thank you for that. You've met with all the appropriate people, and we still have not received the access that we should get, which does hamper us from doing our jobs. And so I want to say, first of all, thank you for that, your leadership in that. My problem with bringing in Ms. Chase is that all we would get is secondhand information that is unsubstantiated, that there's no way that it can be verified by her. And just for me, and it's just me, I'm sure there are a lot of people, Chair, who have family members who are detained or people who work there that could give us information, but without a way to corroborate that information, I'm personally just not sure what value it can bring. I can bring rumors. I can bring secondhand rumors. I'm sure Mike, Barbara, because they work there, and other members, but I'm just not sure that how much value that brings to the board. And that's just my position. And I appreciate the opportunity to share that. Now yeah. I'm gonna go on mute now.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And since I've already spoken, I think we can open it up to discussion from the whole board. I see a couple of hands up. I'm going to try to get to everyone before someone speaks twice. So I think I saw Tom's hand up first. You can have the floor.
I would totally agree with Reverend Gray. If we brought somebody in, it would be hearsay, and hearsay is not admissible. It would just, it's not legitimate. So as much as it would give us information, insight, I don't feel that we want to bring in distractors or things that now we have to go and prove to be truthful. So I would rather just keep everything on board, keep everything legal. And if we have something, then we know that it's true to itself. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Mike, would you like the floor?
For sure. Yeah. I guess my thoughts is less about this individual and more about, well, I got thoughts about that too, because I think it's unfair to call it rumors. People have experiences and families are experiencing deep harm inside of this jail, and it's not just a rumor. Like it's real talk for many people's lives. So that's number one. Number two, I'll say I think that generally we should make some type of session in which the public can comment and talk about their experiences. Just generally talk about what they feel about what's going on in the jail, because the public is asking for that a lot. This is several people experiences where they don't feel like they're heard. They don't feel like they can speak about what's going on inside the jail, and they have deep impacts, and their families being impacted by incarceration. Even some of the people who were incarcerated who wants to talk to us. So I think that we should consider at one of the meetings space for testimony, for people to come in and talk about what they've experienced, what they have seen, and what they demand from us. I think that's the democracy that we all think about and dream about. So I just want to raise that. And I'm personally for her coming on and talking about her experience. I think that the more information we need, we can get, because obviously we're not getting information from the jail. So I think that's a whole nother thing that we should be in consideration of.
Thank you, Mike. Next hand I saw is Barb Baker. Barb, you have the floor.
I don't have a problem with her coming in with it, and the offenders, all they have is their family members that can probably get information to us. Do we have any way for the men and women at the jail? Do we have a box or something? How can the men and women at the jail get information to us other than through family members? We need something set up if we want to hear it directly from them. If we're not willing to hear it from the family member as hearsay, then what can we do to make sure we're hearing directly from the people that's been affected?
Thank you, Barb. We do have a shared box that's shared with board members with a few complaints. It may only be 3. Matt, can you remind us where those complaints come from? Is that from the facility, or they go straight to us?
I'd have to look at them. They come from both.
Okay.
There are a lot of family members that do come in on behalf of their family members that are incarcerated. But we also have received some from, I'd have to look at them. We put some more in today for the board to review.
Okay. And
we have had discussions about having detainees have access to our complaint form. Nothing's been established yet.
Okay. And Barb, if you would like some assistance accessing that box file, you can just email me. It should be in all of our emails, but if you need help getting into that, you can email me or you can call me.
Okay.
I'm going to get to you, Vice Chair. But before that, would anyone else like to speak first or speak for the first time on this? Okay, I will pass it back to Vice Chair Gray. You're on mute, Vice Chair.
I want to be clear about something, and I don't think that it was deliberate, but I don't ever want my comments to be taken out of context or misunderstood. So thank you, Michael, again, for pushing me to be a lot clearer. First of all, I used the word rumor, but I could have said hearsay, and I could have said secondhand, as other members of the board did. And so I'll remove the word rumor and just put uncorroborated information. I think that this board has an obligation to get the best information that we can. And I understand that it is frustrating that we've not been able to get to the people who are directly affected. And so I think that I agree with Michael and with Barbara that maybe what we should be doing is setting up an opportunity for people to bring testimony to this board that I think would be more productive, primarily from those who have been detained, because they could give us firsthand information. And I do agree that there are family members and loved ones who are definitely affected by it. And I would no way, shape, form, or fashion question that or try to devalue that. I think that you're absolutely right. So there are two things that I would recommend, Chair. Number one, that maybe we create a subcommittee in order to pull together or to bring back ideas on how we could provide a venue where people could give public testimony and that we could seek out and ask people who are formerly detained to give us their firsthand experience of being incarcerated, being detained at the Justice Center. I think that gives us firsthand information, and I think that that's what we want. Number two, I think that the person that you mentioned, I would like to think that we could refer her to Matt, that she might sit down with Matt and give testimony and or findings, regardless of how they come, to Matt, so that Matt and his office might begin an investigation to determine whether or not what she is saying is in fact correct. That's an investigation. And we do have staff to do those investigations. So those would be the two things that I would recommend, based upon this conversation. I think you bring into this to us kind of opens up the door to see what we can do legitimately and effectively based upon what we've been charged to do. So those would be the two things. Again, I want to thank Mr. Milton for once again keeping me clear and focused and honest and making sure that as I use my words, as I tell my grandkids, I said to my grandkids, use your words properly. So thank you, Mr. Milton, for helping me to get to those two recommendations.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I see James. James, you can have the floor.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would be feasible, if there's concerns about giving a platform to uncorroborated information, if she could give us her testimony, her views in closed committee, and that way the board has access to it. Everyone involved has access to the information, but it's not necessarily going out writ large to the public if we can't corroborate.
Thanks, James. The only thing I would say about it is that I know that that the state or whoever wrote the law sets what we can close a meeting for. So okay. I would take a look at those, but I know that confidential information is one of them. So Barbara Burkett, thoughts? You're on mute, I believe.
I didn't realize I was muted. I would have to take a look at that statute again. I mean, confidential and privileged, clearly, easily, any advice you're talking to an attorney, anytime there's a lawsuit, those types of things. I'm not, I would want to take a closer look at this before I gave you an opinion.
Okay, sounds good. But also, James, if we go that route, you could look at those as well, and I'm sure one can be applied. Thank you for your comment, Matt.
I was just going to mention, we haven't had this yet, but we could start adding to the agenda an open period for public comments, if you wanted to do that.
Please.
So we'll start adding that.
Sounds good. I think we have several options that were mentioned, referring Brandy to Matt to kind of submit her comments as evidence in an investigation or like in a complaint sort of thing, having public testimony at the meeting. Yes, so I guess the last thing that I will say, okay, sorry, I thought that was a hand. The last thing that I will say before, I guess I'll ask for a motion, since this was just discussion, it wasn't discussion about a specific motion, is that I think I like the idea of having public testimony at a meeting, and also the idea of the option for that at all of our meetings. I think that we should put in time on the agenda as well for us to speak about the reports that we do have right now in the box, and for us to make sure to review them before we get to the next meeting. And that I also think one thing that I was thinking about with this is that not only the public gets a chance to be engaged in this and speak on this issue, and kind of people that see the public speak on this issue can hopefully realize the urgency of this and how deeply impacted the community is on this. And then also that the public can hear from other members of the public. I think people in their experiences have been pretty isolated so far. A few people have gone to the media. We have these meetings, but I don't think people are really getting the full picture, and also feeling alone specifically about things like this is going to be very difficult. So I think that it would be great for us to hear from Brandy or other community members in a closed session, but I don't think that it would do the same thing as the public being able to speak openly and hear each other openly, especially regularly at these meetings. I think it would help people engage with us and help us fulfill our responsibilities if the public know that they can speak now. Right, that they can speak now, or next time in about a month, they can speak then. And they'll also be on the meeting to hear when our next meeting is. And hopefully we can get more than a handful of members of the public on these. Because I don't think they're going to the YouTube. So would anyone, okay, I see Tom's handing. Sorry, Barb.
Oh, Chair, I was literally going to ask you, when you said that, I thought maybe there would be a lot of people. And that was just going to be my procedural thing. If you think you're going to have quite a few people, you might want to have a meeting just for that, because I in a lot of meetings, sometimes it extends it for, a long period of time. Right. So if you have a lot of people, it's just something to consider.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure how we would know how many to expect. I suppose if people are reaching out, like people working with community organizations, if you'll be reaching out to the public with like a open call, here's your chance to speak, and you hear back that like 20 people are interested, maybe let us know, and then we can, Matt and I can work on the agenda so it's one meeting for that and not a lot else. Although I don't think we have much else really to add to an agenda, but this really. So thank you, Barbara, for that comment. I saw Tom's hand. Tom?
Yeah, so just kind of what Barbara was saying, it just kind of, we do want to be a little careful when we have an open forum. How long will people get to talk? How many people are we going to have? If people wanted to put their name on a list and then they have a particular night that they get to express, maybe we could set up something so that we could say we're going to have 12 people, because otherwise this could get really lengthy and it could be very time consuming because people are going to want to be heard and we have to give them the time to be heard, and everybody's going to have something genuine to say. So we have to think about our own personal time too. But I think this would be a really good opportunity to, if we can't get direct information, people who do have experience can express themselves and we can get some leads, some ideas, we can hear them. And I think that would be really important. My thing is that we want to set it up so that everyone gets a chance to talk and be listened to, and we don't want to run a 4-hour meeting.
Me neither, Tom. Well, I'll pass it to Mike.
Yeah, appreciate everybody's comments. I'm happy to stay for 4 hours if that means the community gets to talk. I think that so a couple of things. One, it's a little bit of a sidebar. One, there's not, at least that I'm aware of, information that we're receiving about like the current things that's going on inside of the jail. So like, you know, we hear about water shutoffs often. We still hear about the 23-hour lockdowns, etc. Like I don't learn about those things until I have sometimes an offhand conversation with Matt or etc. I think there should be it would be good if we had like some type of updates about the things that are going on in the jail, because as I understand and as I hear as people are being released, it's still kind of like a war zone, for lack of better words. People are still going through extreme conditions. People are still being maced in the mouth. People are still being in solitary confinement for 40 days for a fight. They're still being mistreated by guards. And so I think that's one thing that I think that it will be helpful, especially as we consider what's next about the jail, for us to know. And then the second thing I think about is that there's still some untied business that we hadn't talked about in regards to, like, you know, who's the next set of people who's going in. Can we talk to the dorm reps? Like, can we have a tour that's actually, can we request to see certain areas that we didn't get to see? And I think there's a matter that still needs to be worked out on that particular lawn that I don't necessarily feel clear about. So I guess I don't know if I'm necessarily asking for anything in particular response, but I think that those two things I want us to consider.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to pass. I do see your hand, Vice Chair and Tom. I'm going to pass it to Barb first.
I wanted to ask a question. Don't ask this as the board. That's part of our job as this board. Shouldn't we be allowed to meet with the offenders at the jail and talk one-on-one with them? And I thought that was, ain't no sense in us keep doing tours and stuff, because anything we tell them that we want to see, they're going to have that up together. When do we get to a point where we can talk to the offenders and the staff?
Matt, we've not launched an official investigation, correct? Or have we?
As far as the board looking into complaints, yeah, we not. Yes, we've been following up on complaints we've received to investigate, but we have not investigated use of force complaints yet.
Okay.
We are in discussions trying to set up a time where we can, instead of just having a third tour, we can have actual interactions with the population.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
Gotcha. I also feel like we've clarified in going over the ordinance that in terms of another tour, and also what is the like itinerary for that tour, that we can take a tour without agreeing on a time and date with the commissioner of the facility. I think our only responsibility is to let Matt know. Of course, we might be denied at the facility in terms of being let in or seeing what we're asking to see. And the ordinance says that they need to provide us some kind of written document saying why we were denied and then work to let us know when we can come back. But it seems like that's kind of where that's kind of a standstill, us either just going to the facility, and it seems like the standstill is we either demand to see the facility or we request it and we don't really see it. But yeah, well, I guess I hope that clarifies when are we going to get to see things. I think it's request or demand.
And that status for me and Barb is still up in the air, or are we good?
As far as whether or not you can have access,
yeah.
I don't think the Commissioner of Corrections has changed her mind, and
so it's limited.
I'm looking at the counselor before I say too much. I mean, well, let's see after we send the letter, I guess.
Okay. So just to be clear, for me and Barb is still in question.
Yes.
And so while we're in question, even though we on this board, we still can't go into the facility under the DOF board.
The FOB.
As far as the DF, you can enter the facility as you did on the tour, Barb. As a board member, it's the access with your work that's the issue.
Oh, okay. That's a helpful clarification point. And I see other hands, so I don't want to take time, but we can still go on as board members.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. And am I clear that that we have to have a certain a certain amount of board members before we can do that, or me and Barb we can go?
You and Barb can go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's section 5C. The DFLB board should be provided access to the city detention facilities at any time upon notice to the commissioner and without condition or requirements as to the timing or form of such notice. And it can be temporarily denied, but they have to give a reason why.
How come we as board members can't set up a meeting? Because I think before we trying to set up a meeting to meet with the dorm reps. What's preventing that from happening?
The Commissioner of Corrections. The commissioner's not facilitating that. We've made that request for our staff and for board members to meet with the dorm reps, and it has not come to fruition yet.
She's blocking it.
Yes.
So yeah. Oh, I wanted to say, Mike or Barb or anyone, if you guys are going to do a visit to the facility, can you let me know when you're going to go? Not in terms of like, you don't need my permission or anything, but if anyone's going, I'll try to clear my schedule so I can go too.
I wouldn't just pop up without the board and stuff. I think when we go in there, we go in as a board and stuff, but I wish we could push to make that meeting happen with the dorm reps and then set up a meeting with the offenders there. We just can't let her close us out. What are we going to do? Just meet by Zoom every month and talk about what's going on? And we was appointed to look at the problems and stuff there, and we can't look at them through Zoom meeting and not have access to what we need access in the jail.
Can I say something?
Is it sure? What is it related to?
It's related to the conversation we're having, Chair. it's related to everything that was just said. And I'm a real patient person, but I'm losing patience with the commissioner, as all of us are. And I've got two things I want to say, but I'm going to say this first. We've had this conversation. We've talked about things that we might want to do. I'm going to make a motion because we're going back and forth. We're going back and forth, and that's part of the frustration. So I want to make a motion. I want to make a motion that this board, what's the word I want to use? Call a date and time for us to do an event to receive testimonies. Because if they're not going to give us access to those who are in there now, I agree with Ms. Barbara. I'm tired of coming here and just talking about stuff and what people are not doing. My motion is that this board would hold a public testimony in a 2 weeks' time to hear from former detainees, people who have been detained or have been released over the last 30 days. If you have been released over the last 30 days, we would like to hear from you as to what your experience was while you were detained in the correction center. That we do a public hearing. That's the word I want to use. A public hearing that we would hear from detainees from the last 30 days, and we seek to advertise that. I'm sure that all of us have our own organizations. We can put it up on the city website, do social media, however. And that's number one. I got one more thing after that because of something that was just said, Chair. That if we're talking about, okay, no, I'll call you later about it. I won't bring it up on the board. I'll call you later about it.
Me?
I'll call you later about it.
I prefer we speak here if it's board related.
No, it just may be just a matter of just not understanding something. And so it's no. So that's my motion. My motion is that we would conduct a public hearing in 2 weeks to hear from former detainees who have recently been released over the last 30 days, and that it be advertised through the city communications and or other relevant organizations. That's my motion.
Vice Chair, are you open to amending your motion to include people formerly detained over a longer period of time, just to make sure we get enough response? I also think that we have a lack of data for more than the past 30 days. So maybe even as far as the past 6 months or something.
I think that's too much, Chair. I do understand what you're saying, but I do think, and I'm prepared to extend it out to 60 days or maybe 90. We're trying to get, because that's been how long we've existed. So I agree with you. I think that 30 days may not be enough. I think that 6 months might be too much, but I would yield, Chair, to 90 days, because then that would cover our period of existence. So if we say 90 days, and that gives us a more broader range of experiences, and I think it would be relevant to where we are, because we should have gotten this information 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago, when we first started in earnest. So I would be open, Chair, to my motion saying those who have been released over the last 90 days.
Okay. We can, I guess
Can I
maybe
respond to the?
We need a second before. Yeah.
I was gonna, if you're responding about the number of days, I was gonna open it to discussion for that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say really quickly that I believe we were sworn in July, which would be 6 months, about 6 months now. But yeah, so Mike.
Yeah, I mean, what's true is that not a lot of people being released. So, I mean, in the last 30 days, we'll probably get 3 to 5 people at most.
I did agree to 90 days.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with 6 months. I think 6 months has been a duration since we've been kind of up and going. It'll give us a nice data sample of what's been happening, like the trends of what's been going on inside of the jail. And I'm pretty sure we'll get a pretty big turnout. We would extend that up into 6 months, which I think we need to hear.
So that we don't have to have a lot of comments. I will yield to 6 months. I'll yield to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Listen, we agree. We're in the same boat. I just want to make. Okay. I agree to 6 months, Chair.
Okay. So you're amending your motion essentially?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move to a vote. Sorry.
Was there a second, Chair? I'm sorry.
Yeah. There wasn't. Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Let's move to a vote since we're at about an hour and we're supposed to do a quick meeting just for the letter. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Okay, so the motion for a public hearing of testimony from people who have been detained at the CJC in the past, been released from the CJC in the past 6 months, passes. Let's see, can everyone look at their calendars for, do we think Monday at 5 would be a good time for the public?
Can I ask a question? Is there a way to do this in person? I think most of the people that we're talking about, and I could be wrong, may or may not have access to computers, all of that, and it might be more prudent if we looked at doing a hybrid, both in person and Zoom.
Sounds good.
I think I agree with Mike. If we're talking about trying to really get the information, we might want to look at both in person and Zoom.
Sounds good to me. We can do hybrid. Can people look at the week of February 20th? I would say after around 5, so we can try to get people who don't work a 9 to 5.
Mr. Chair, on February 20th is President Day.
Okay, good call. The week of the 21st. I'm pretty much fine with anything, really. How about we say Wednesday? Wednesday the 22nd at 5 p.m.
I think Tuesday and Thursday are better evenings.
Right. I forgot about the Wednesdays. So let's do, how about Thursday the 23rd at 5 p.m.? Is anyone unable to make it?
Thursday the 21st?
23rd. Thursday, February 23rd, 5 p.m. Hybrid and in person. You still checking, Mike?
Yeah, I'm checking. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I can make that.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned that that's not enough time to I mean, we have to reach out to folks, but or publicize this. I mean, that's not a lot of time to publicize this and make sure that the people get it. I just want to name that, but I'm down to be there and try.
Yeah, that's something to consider. We can also, since we're planning to do this regularly, we can see what turnout we get and we'll open it up again either way.
Do a dry run.
Yeah. Okay, so if Matt, if you could send out a calendar invite for that one, that would be great.
Yep, for the 23rd at 5 in the hybrid form.
Yes.
Like we did the other meeting a few meetings ago.
Sounds good. I would say that if at all possible, if people could show up in person so the community members can see us in person. And if you can't, of course, virtual will be great. I will try to be there in person, although transportation may be an issue. So
can we request the Kennedy room, or is there any a particular place, Matt? And the only reason I mention the Kennedy room, because if we do it in a city facility, then we have, because we are a city entity, then we could request that they assist in setting up the whole hybrid situation.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, sounds good. Wherever it ends up being, I'm sure, Matt, you can include that in the invitation.
Yep.
Let's see. Is there any further business? I see some hands up. Are those maybe just lingering?
Yeah, I think mine is. And Chair, I apologize. I have to get on a work call that I'm 16 minutes for. And so I do apologize for that, but I will follow up as far as the public hearing. I think that public hearing says, I agree with Mike 100%. It says to people that we're not going to wait on the Commissioner of Corrections to do her job and to comply to our requests, because we're acknowledging the urgency of this. And so I want to thank you for your leadership, and I want to thank the other board members for their support. And I hope to talk to you soon. And I apologize that I have to leave to go to a work meeting.
Sure. Thank you for your participation today.
Thank you.
Any further business?